Hi guys, welcome back to the channel, and today I am doing a hot process soap. This is a customer request. A beautiful lady named Karen wants 100% olive oil soap. She has bought it from me before, but this time I decided to make her request using the hot process method. In this crock pot is 37 ounces of olive oil, and here in this container is my lye water mixture. This is a simple Castile soap, which means that you are making a soap with just one oil. I'm using olive oil because she requested, but olive oil is one of the most gentle oils that you can use and turn into soap for sensitive skin. Everybody can use it, including babies. Hot process is just like or similar to cold process soap. The only difference is you do not have to wait 4 to 6 weeks for the soap to cure. What you're actually doing is cooking the soap in the crock pot until the saponification happens, which means the lye water and the oils have mixed, cooked completely through to create soap where there is no more lye hazard in the soap. Which means once I spoon this, once it's finished cooking, and I spoon it over into this mold, let it sit till it hardens a little bit and cut it, you can actually use this soap right then and there. Be it 2 days later, a week later, 4 weeks later, it all depends on how hard you want the bar to be, because the curing process is just a matter of the water evaporating out of your soap, so that when you go to take a shower or a bath with it, your soap isn't so soft that you use up your soap, because it has a lot of water content, which means it melts down faster. So guys, we're going to get started making this soap, and I'll talk through some parts except for when I'm running the stick blender, and then I will do a voiceover with you guys. So let's start making some hot process Castile 100% olive oil soap. All right, let's get started. I've already turned the crock pot off. It was on high to get the oils up to the temperature I wanted. And right now the oil's at like 130 degrees Fahrenheit. The lye is at 127 Fahrenheit. That's the beauty of hot process soap. You do not have to wait on things to cool down, because you're only going to heat it back up. This can potentially get up to like 250 degrees. So it is hot. So I am covered from head to toe with my protective gear. I got my goggles on. The only thing I've done is pull my face mask down so that I can talk clearly on the video. So I'm going to add the lye mixture right into here using my silicone spatula to break the fall, because I don't want to splash back, nor do I want to create any additional bubbles in this. I have already turned the crock pot off because the ceramic basin of this crock pot will keep its heat in order to do this process. So I'm just pouring this over in here, making sure you're getting all of your lye water and mixture out. Now, one thing with hot process soap, guys, you can also add fragrances and additives to it, but this I'm not. If you've ever made cold process soap, you have to pay a lot of attention to how the fragrance oil and additives react to your mixture. The beauty of hot process soap, you don't have to worry about that, because you add generally most of your additives after the cook has begun. So you don't have a reaction with the fragrance oil. No ricing, no acceleration, all that good stuff. And your fragrance won't burn off as long as it's a fragrance that has a good high heat point. Okay? Everything is mixed. I've already burped the stick blender so that there's no extra bubbles in the batter. So guys, I'm going to blend this until I hit medium trace, and at this point I'll do a voiceover. So let's go. Okay, now guys, as you see, the moment you start blending it, the oily look of it goes away and you get the creamy texture of it. We're just going to blend this until we get to a trace. That is where if I lift the stick blender out of this crock pot and run the drippings across the top of the batter, it stays on top. It doesn't sink through the bottom. That is trace. It can be thick or it can be heavy, and then we'll go from there on the next stages of making hot process soap. Okay, guys, from here you can see that it is thickening up a little bit, but it's not at the trace that I want yet. It's still pretty fluid. It's at a very, very light trace. You see how it's sticking to the top of the blender and not running all the way down? And when you stir it, you can see a little bit of the lines on top of the soap. I want it a little bit thicker than that, so hang in there. All right, guys, I am sorry, but I thought I was recording the last little portion where I got it to the consistency that I wanted, but I've already taken the stick blender out, so I'm just going to show you with my spatula. It's still liquidy, but when you pull it up and you drop it, you can still see the trails on top. It could be a little bit thicker, but I decided not to burn my stick blender out because it did get a little hot. So right now, all you do is let it sit in the crock pot until it starts to cook. Now, there are several stages that this goes through if it goes well. Sometimes, depending on your recipe, it may or may not go through the stages. But one of the stages is called applesauce. When this starts to cook, it's going to get a translucent look to it where it looks like clear applesauce. It's going to be grainy like applesauce. And then once it goes through that stage, it starts to boil up on itself and it begins to look like mashed potatoes. That pretty much means that the soap is going through the saponification process. It's cooking in the crock pot, and that is what you want. But while it's going through those particular stages, you have to resist the urge to stir it unless it's getting ready to volcano out of this crock pot. But my batch is pretty small. This is just like a 3-pound batch once it's all finished. If it was getting ready to volcano out of the crock pot, then I would just stir it down with my silicone spatula to get it mixed back in to calm it back down. But right now, that's not an issue that we're having. So only thing I have to do right now is put the glass lid back on it to trap the heat inside. Let's see what the temperature is right now. The temperature right now on this is at 128. I've turned the crock pot back on to just warm. And then I'm just going to cover the top. And I'm going to let this sit. I won't leave the crock pot because you don't want to leave hot processed soap unattended just in case it does bubble up and come out. That is why I have this paper down on my table. Sorry about the wobble. If it was to bubble out, it wouldn't be all over my floor, all over my tabletop. It would hit the brown craft paper. So guys, I'll be back in about 10 or 15 minutes or so, or when it starts into the applesauce stage, to share that part with you. So stay tuned, guys, for the next stages. Okay, guys, I'm finna take the lid off and show you where we are on the applesauce stage, but it has been over 30 minutes. This is what I meant when I say, depending on your recipe, how fast the cook goes. The crock pot is still on low. Let me get my thermometer and I'll test the temperature that we're working with, and then I'll show you if it's close enough to see it. Okay, I'm gonna take this off. And the temperature on this is at 156 degrees. And you can't really tell, but I'm going to see if I can turn the crock pot a little bit. Otherwise, I'll move the camera. And it's hot, but it's not hot enough to burn me. I'm going to move the camera in a minute. Because right along the edges there, you can see what is starting to look like applesauce. I'm still not going to stir it. I'm going to move the camera a little bit closer, guys, so you can see it. Can you see that? That is part of the applesauce stage starting around it. And if you look at it, it does look like applesauce. Now, the whole thing should turn that consistency with maybe some oil pockets and a little bit of the whiter soap or the creamy yellow soap there in the middle. But that is the applesauce stage. So I'm going to put the lid back on the crock pot and let this continue cooking and go from there, guys. So stay tuned. Okay, guys, I am back to show you where we are at. And as you can see, the applesauce stage has advanced a little bit. But this has taken over an hour and it's almost 3 p.m. in the afternoon. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to move this around just a little bit, mix it just a little bit, because I got to get my kid from the school bus. So, as you can see, it progressed very well. It's just slow moving because it's olive oil. And I'm just going to stir it gently. It's not very much left. that needed to go into the applesauce stage. And I'm hoping the camera is picking this up pretty well. Yes, it is. So I'm just going to fold it over a little bit. But it's doing awesome. It's not really sticking to the sides of the crock pot, which means it is not overcooking. If you're making hot processed soap and you start noticing that your soap is sticking to the side of your crock pot and it's getting all hard and look like it's drying out, that means it's time to get ready to get your soap out of the crock pot and into a mold, because you don't want to end up with overcooked hard bits of soap. But this looks amazing. I'm just mixing a little bit, and I'm going to hold it up so you guys can see it. Yeah, this came out wonderful. So I'm going to hold it up so you can see what I mean when I say applesauce. Applesauce. So the residual heat from the part that had already went through the applesauce stage will warm up the rest of it. And I'm hoping in the next 30 minutes or so, because the bus stop is in our subdivision, I'm just going to walk the puppy around there with me and pick up the kid. But I still have like an hour and 20 minutes before I have to go around there. I just didn't want to take a chance on this not doing. Now, this may not go into mashed potato stage. It may just stay in the applesauce stage and it'll be ready to go into the mold that way. But look at that. Definitely looks like full applesauce at this point. So I'm going to put the lid and a towel back over it. That helps to maintain the heat. Sorry about the wobble, guys. And that's it. I'm going to cover it back up, and hopefully in the next few minutes or so, it will go into the mashed potato stage. And I can show you that. Okay, update. It is getting ready to go into the mashed potato stage. I'm going to move a little bit closer. You can see some of the oil that is on top of the mixture, and that is fine. Once we stir everything together, it will reconstitute back into the batch. But I'm going to turn this around, and you can see along the edges up there and some other places that underneath, this is probably already starting into the mashed potato stage. It just has to start lifting up and turning in on itself, and this batch will be all done. So stay tuned for the lift in a moment. All right, guys, we are done. However, doesn't look like my soap is going to go through a complete mashed potato phase. However, my soap is done. It's past the applesauce stage. I'm going to get you close so you can see it. It's past the applesauce stage, and you can see those lighter color bits that's in there. That lets you know my soap is pretty much done. It just didn't go into the full-blown mashed potato stage. I'm going to stir it up a little bit, but I am going to take it out of the crock pot before my soap goes crazy. It's fine. You can see a little bit of the lighter textures there, but this is done. I do not want this soap to dry out. I'm going to ladle it over into my soap mold and sit it off to the side and let it harden a little bit. And then, guys, I will unmold it and let you guys see the cut of it. More than likely, it will be on tomorrow. So I'm going to take the crock out and put on my heat gloves and transfer the batter over into the soap mold. But all in all, this hot process recipe works great. Now, if you use harder oils and solid oils, you tend to get more of a quicker cook because hard oils will solidify a lot faster. And the temperature on this batch is now 187 degrees. So that lets you know that it heated up with the lye in the oil mixture as it turns into soap. It's a little fluid, but it's ready. That soap is ready, guys. Let me get my heat gloves and transfer it over into the mold. This crock pot is fully heated up, so that's why I put the glove on. Let me move this back so you can see the mold, guys. Can you see it now? Yes. And I'm just going to spoon it into the mold. Now, generally with hot process soap, because of the thickness that you get of it, you really can't do too many designs with hot process soap. It has more of that rustic look. I'm quite sure if you've been to any type of farmers markets or anything like that, you have seen hot process soap. It looks like rocks or things like that. It has a rustic, earthy look to it. Yes, this is all done. We just didn't go into the mashed potato stage. And you can skip any number of these stages depending on your soap batter. I'm just heaping it in. And I'm going to bang it down a little bit to get the soap to go into the crevices of the mold and to knock out any air bubbles, which I don't think I have any. Just keep scooping it on the top. And as you see, there is no hard white bits hanging out on the side of the mold, which is a wonderful thing, which means I have not overcooked this batch. Spread it out a little bit to get it down into the mold. A little bit more on this side. And I'm just going to mound this right on the top. Karen gets all of her batch. And then to clean this crock pot, all I got to do is let this sit in here and cool off. Put some boiling hot water over into it. And voila, you have soapy water. And you just clean it out. Okay, and I'm just going to shape this a little bit with the spoon. And then just sit this off to the side to do what it do. Harden up probably in 24 hours. And then I can cut this soap. And she'll have wonderful bars of 100% Castile soap. All right, guys, so stay tuned for the cut. Let me pick it up. 100% olive oil soap. Stay tuned for the cut, guys. All right, guys, it is the next day, and I have removed this lovely olive oil soap from the mold and the freezer paper that it was wrapped in. Bring it close so you guys can get a good look at it. That is the rustic look I was talking about. Okay, we're going to put it on the cutter. It's still a little soft, but not so soft that it cannot be cut without causing any problems. I'm just going to line it up on my cutter. This is a 10-bar cutter. Make sure we got it set so we get nice, even 1-inch bars all the way across. And once the wires hit it, just slowly and evenly press it down. And it is going through the soap beautifully. And guys, if you've never smelled olive oil soap, it has a rich, nutty aroma to it. It just smells earthy, but not herbal. Okay, I'm going to pull a bar from the back and bring it up so you can see it. And that is 100% Castile olive oil, 100% olive oil soap. Use an olive oil soap, the longer you keep it, the gentler it becomes for your skin. Olive oil has a very low lather, but it's very, very moisturizing to your skin. And again, anyone can use it, but that is 100% olive oil soap, hot processed soap made in the crock pot. Guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. I think I'm going to make another batch of this and place it into my Etsy shop. And I think with one of these little end cap pieces in a few weeks, I think I'm going to wash my hair with it and see how it does. Okay, guys, I'll give you an update when I do use it for my hair. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, give me a thumbs up. And if you are looking to get your own custom loaf of soap, just send me an email. It will be down in the description box below. And if you decide to order some soap, all I have to do is place your loaf on the Etsy shop and you can purchase it from there. All right, guys, be blessed, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.